Adobe Medium is a VR sculpting tool that was acquired by Adobe from Facebook in 2019. It's got some amazing tools, some of the best tools I've ever used. There's a thing called the Move tool that I would say is one of my best tools in all of 3D. It's great for doing fast concepts, for doing creatures, characters, environments. So in this video I'm going to show you the utter basics and how I use it to make a creature like this. Okay, so let's take a look at Adobe Medium then. So this is a sculpting package that's available on at the moment, this is the Oculus Rift S that I'm on. It used to be, and it still is, usable on the Oculus Rift, the previous version, and you're going to be able to use it on the new Quest 2, but only if you tether it to a PC. The Quest 2 won't run this without it being tethered. So don't go buying a Quest 2 thinking that you're going to run this kind of package without having a PC to tether it to. It's a sculpting package, and the essence of it is you spray in the air in front of you, and it gives you basically clay like this. Just with, I'm using my dominant hand, I'm left-handed. This is the main drawing hand or sculpting hand, and it's got the trigger and the grip that you're used to with anything that's done in VR creation tools is done this way. So I'm left-handed, so it doesn't matter because we're going to say dominant or non-dominant. This is my non-dominant hand, my right hand. Yours might be the opposite way around. So the essence of what we're doing with Adobe Medium is that we're building up a shape, and we can edit it in a number of ways. So I can hold down non-dominant hand trigger and just smooth by pressing the trigger on the drawing hand. I can use my grips and spin it around and scale it. So we can work with it massive and work underneath it, or we can work with it tiny. Now while I'm doing that, just notice the grid around me, the block around me. Now the resolution of the model, as it gets higher and higher resolution, that grid will effectively get smaller. Each model has its own grid, so you will only be able to go to a limited amount of size. And that's dependent here. If you pull down on the thumbstick on your non-dominant hand, and if you've got increase and decrease here, as you change that increase and decrease, that grid will get smaller or larger. Doesn't really matter to start with, but it's good to know it. And I always go small to start. I always go really low res. In fact, if it feels too smooth, I knock it down again, and that means that it's really lightweight, and you can really play with your shapes and your forms early on. So what else do you need to know just to get going? You've got on your drawing hand, you've got push forward and push back with the thumbstick. That gives you a size of the sphere that you're going to spray with. And don't forget, we've got push forward on your non-dominant hand, and you've got mirror switched on here. That's all you need to get going. We're using the basic sphere, so green button on the dominant hand, and we're just using the utter basic sphere, the first one you get when you open this program. There's lots and lots of others, and we get quite complicated later on, but just for this introductory video I just want to show you the basics of what we're doing. Remember to smooth, so it's trigger on the non-dominant hand and then fire with your dominant hand with the trigger, and that smooths it down. If you want to remove, double click green button, and then you can chew away. Smooth, chew it away. And that's essentially how we work. That is the essence of what we're making here. So I'm just going to make a creature. I'm not massively worried what we make, it's more about the tools. So there's a head. Let's just really have some fun and just spray out some shapes. I try to lay out a shape really quickly, simply because the more you do in the early stages of the sketching and the roughing out, the easier it gets later on. So as you would with a sketch, and as you would with any kind of sculpting in ZBrush or on the iPad, or whatever you use, it's the same in here. So keep it low res and rough out as much as you can. So let's just block out the entire character if we can. So if we're going to think about that being a head there, we've already defined roughly how we want that. Bit of a chest here somehow. Something of a body going back here. Let's give him some shoulders that we'll work on here. Again, I'm going to smooth all this down later, so If at this point you're feeling like you're starting any detailing, then you're probably going wrong. Just literally start with shapes and blobs, and if they go wrong, just delete them away and just start again. Doesn't really matter. Now, one of my favorite tools in all of 3D in any program is this next one. So I'm going to push forward on the non-dominant hand, and you can see the palette that you've already seen it briefly. This is where you pick all your tools. So I'm only using clay so far. So if I switch to move, and you can now basically in a very fluid way, you can move your design around, and this is one of the most powerful tools I've ever encountered. I absolutely love it. It's like in some other programs you'll get the ability to smudge or to just move and drag, but what you don't get is the ability to turn like this with your hands, so you can go absolutely crazy with this stuff. It's actually one of the most fun things. It's like stretchy arm, man. And then when it's finished, it kind of welds it all together. So as you're learning this, just go a bit crazy with that, and just find ways to use that in creative ways. Let's give him some arms. Let's make a huge, I don't know what we're going to make. Let's make a crab creature. I'm always doing creatures and monsters, so why change the habit of a lifetime? Now I'm going to do a claw, but I'm only going to do half of the claw, and I'll show you why in a few minutes, because I'm going to do another layer for the other part of the claw. So see how it looks blobby at the moment. Don't worry about that. That's going to slowly refine as you smooth it. If you've got muscles that aren't working, like this obviously clearly isn't right, then just go in and just try and work out your muscles. If you want reference images, it's super easy. So you just basically pull down on your thumbstick non-dominant and just go into add image here. I won't do it, and you can bring an image in. That's for another video. If this is something that people want to learn, I will do all of these tools over the course of a few weeks as we do lessons in it. I've taught this I taught it at FMX to a live group, and we did canine anatomy in Oculus Medium, and it's so much fun. So you're basically building a skeleton and then muscles and build them up, and it's just a great way to learn, a really cool way to learn. Remember that move tool if you want it. Look how that really helps. So fluid with your sculpting and pulling the clay. If we could have that in the real world, it would be so much fun. This is going to come around here and be the other half of this claw. Again, still roughing out. Remember, we're only a few minutes in, and we've roughed out a really nice shape already. Let's get some hips going in here. We'll put some basic legs on this dude. There's two types of legs that you want to always be considering. So you've got what we are, which is plantigrade, which means our feet, our ankles, the back of our feet are called the calcaneus when we get to it. That's planted firmly on the ground. Or you've got this guy here, which is, if you want to call it like a werewolf leg or a dog leg or a cow leg, it's basically called plantigrade, decidigrade. And what that means is that this is your calcaneus, or the back of your heel here. This would be the foot in us, but that goes down, and then the toes extend down as part of this tiptoe kind of look. And I do a lot of creatures like this. Have a look at the difference between the back leg of a dog and the back leg of an ape or a human, or something that's plantigrade. Nice big calves, because it's obviously going to take a lot of pressure on the way these legs work. Again, I'm just blocking out groups of muscles that I want. Get your reference images going. Don't try and do all this without references. Get yourself 3 or 4 references in here if you feel like you need it. And this guy needs some kind of a tail, doesn't he? You were feeling tail there, weren't you? Definitely. I was feeling like something was missing. And of course, because we've got the move tool, this tail can be flexed quite easily. So watch the area of effect there. So look at that. So this is crazy time. You know, when I say I think it's one of my favorites, I'm not exaggerating it anyway. I absolutely adore it. Now, I went too far there, see here? And I fractured it. That means I've stretched it too far. So rather than try and undo it and do it again, I'm going to fill that in with more geometry. And remember, we're on symmetry here. So if you go off, like I've just done there, I'm too far off the center. So you will get that a lot. So just be aware of that. Because we're low res, if you smooth too much, you'll destroy it like this. So don't you know, just be careful, or you might get to the point where you want to go up a little bit of a resolution. Remember how we looked at resolution? We can look at that again in a minute. Okay, so I think we've got the makings of a nice sort of almost like a runner sort of character. He's probably a little bit off balance there, so let me just move him along like so. Again, I'm not designing this creature with anything in mind at the moment. I'm just literally trying to find shapes that I like. So this kind of concept exploration is really, really useful. Let's just broaden him out a little bit all around. Drop that foot back a bit like so, and then bring these thighs forward a bit. So that's working out really well. I'm liking that. He's gone a little bit thin, see on his abdomen there. So let's bring him out here. Give him a bit of bulk. I don't know what these things were. I don't even remember doing those, so I don't know how that got there. So there we go. That'll be a nice block out level. That's enough for us to start now. I'll take him now and go up. Remember, pull down on the non-dominant hand, and we'll go increase by 1 level. Now we'll do a quick pass, just doing a little bit more detail. So stay on the clay, and we'll think about now a little bit more of the detailing. So where would the eyes on this guy be? Would we want them at the front? We want them high up at the back? You know, let's start thinking about other parts of this creature now. So if his mouth is underneath here, that means he's got a jawline here. Smooth it back down, see if it reads okay. We could have a central eye in here, maybe. I don't know. We'll see what happens as we evolve it. We'll build this plate up on the back of his head, and maybe a bit of visual interest on the head. Always try and break your silhouettes a little bit. Do we want ears or not? Don't know. Let's put them in if we don't like them later. You can take those out. Negative, double click on the green button. Negative some of this away if you want it to look better straight away. And then don't forget, did we say we'd do a single eye in the middle? I'm not sure. Maybe we don't have eyes actually, that could be quite cool. Yeah, let's just have one large nostril. So you can see how this is evolving already. This, you know, when you're just concepting like this, your ideas come with the shapes that you make. So I'm quite liking that. Just literally one big nostril and no eyes, or maybe we have something down here like this. Something a bit freaky, I think. So a bit more of a chin perhaps. A bit more of a mouth area, I mean. And then this will go down onto the neck. A little bit of fat there, a little bit of skin roll, something like that. That's cool. Now a bit of definition onto the chest, so what we call the Sternal Collider, which is this thing here that holds your head up. Maybe put one of them in. I think we put them in once earlier on, and then we just smoothed them out. Let's try and unpick some of these muscles here. So if it's going to be, if that's its clavicle, these would be its pecs going out to its top end of the humerus, and that would mean it comes along here, and this would be the first part of the deltoid, second part of the deltoid, the middle head of the deltoid, and that would mean a great big one out the back here. The third part going into his trapezius, which comes here. Anatomy's got to be one of your focuses if you're wanting to learn this stuff. Go and get books on human anatomy. Start research human anatomy before you do anything else. Teres major coming up the back here. Latissimus dorsi. So you're remembering all of the things you learn in anatomy class. Now, it's an alien, isn't it? So the anatomy isn't human, but if you link it to human or mammalian anatomy in some way, you're going to have it looking more accurate straight away. Again, this is very, very fabricated. It's, you know, it's a thrown together designed creature, but it's already, some of these muscles are starting to work for me, which means I won't have to do too much work once I'm finished. So let's carry on. I'm hoping to keep this to about 20 minutes, so what I'll probably do is I'll probably drop a time lapse in a minute, because I've shown you the core of the tools that I use. Try and unpick some of these muscles here. So if that's the chest, then the rib cage drops under there, and that leads to these comic book kind of what they call serratus round here. Just indicate them and smooth them out, and then let's start the abdominals a little bit, and I'll knock these right back in a second, and then come up here, external obliques. Again, you're on tailed anatomy here, so this is very different. This is where you'd be looking at monkeys rather than apes, or things even like kangaroos, or things that have got a large muscle coming out of the back here, or which is the extension of the spine. So you want to be researching that kind of creature. Or gibbons is a good one because they have large muscles and large tails. Anything that's, you know, you're working out your anatomy from the reference you've chosen, so choose the right reference. Let's just get something going on the leg here. And look how good it is when you just smooth it back down. You know, you're not looking for any heavy definition. And go back up to the bicep. If you want to have a go at this, just certainly while you're learning, just pick an easier subject than something like this. But use every one of these tools. So get the move tool under your belt. Get that. Make sure you get the clay. Obviously, the main one is the sculpting tool. Get that nailed early on, and then we can move into the more complex. Once we've really got, if you can get good with just this sphere, imagine how good it gets when you get to the different shapes that you can get to. There's his biceps. Legs looking at okay, so we want the patella, the knee, come down onto the calf. Might use one more tool there that I haven't shown you. This is the Inflate tool. So look, you can just pump up that volume there without spraying it on. So smooth it back a bit, pump it up, smooth it back a bit, pump it up, pump these thighs up a bit. Just seeing where, and remember, like here, it'll close that down and weld it together. So do it carefully. Don't go crazy with it, or you'll destroy the work that you've done. So just want to level these out. They weren't level if you saw there. Back to the clay. I'm not going to do a lot of work on his toes, so I'll just give him a single claw. So spray it. You know what tool I'm going to use here. You've probably already worked it out. What's the best tool for this? So it's the move tool, low size, and just coil it like that. There's an instant claw for you. That's, again, you'll grow to love. If you're like me, you're going to grow to love that tool. It's just the sculptor's friend, really. Let's just bulk up the toe a little bit, and then put some tendons coming down here. Maybe there is a little false toe here, something to give him a bit of balance, and then back up onto the. Try and keep these as straight bones here. Obviously this is the back of your foot if you're thinking about where this is on your own body. If you do have a dog or a cat, go and have a look at their back leg, because that'll show you what I'm doing there with that leg. There we go. So that is how we would block out really, really quickly. I would now do a number of things. So I'm going to do, at the end of this video, I'll do a time lapse of detailing this up for about 20 minutes, but it'll only be a couple of minutes of time lapse. But before we do that, I want to show you something, some of the tools that I use a lot in here. So we'll just save it. So to save it, it's File, Save As, and just name it. So you can just name it whatever you want. So we'll call this Medium Runner. Oh, I didn't clear it, did I? So Medium space Runner. Enter and save it. And that saves it for us. Now, we've only used the default stuff at the moment. I just want to show you something that I do all the time. So I go to World, and this is how I generally set my scene up. I change the theme to dark. So we've now got it working in a completely dark world. That means you've got a sun brightness to play with and an image-based lighting brightness. So that's like what we call, so that's basically the wrap round of the world that drops the lighting on. So Hdri is kind of like similar, so it's giving you lighting from all over the place. So drop that down, and I generally add a new light. So push forward on the thumbstick. Oh, sorry, pull down on the thumbstick. Add a light, and that gives us number 2 light. You can see how bloomy. I don't know whether that shows very well, but it's almost like a huge bloom. You take that off with your settings. Go back to the world settings. And you just turn bloom off here, and I'll turn skybox off as well, and we don't need a ground plane for what we're doing. So that light, move it back out of the way, and we can just change the color here. We'll just go for a blue. There we go. So we just got a little bit of a different look going on over there. Now, something I try early on is I chop it up and I try poses with it. So we don't need to go high res for this. So this is the last tool I'll probably show today, and then we'll build on this video from this week. So we want to go thumbstick forward, non-dominant hand, and we want to go to this tool here, cut, but make sure that mirror is off now. So there might be a little bit of a lag as I chop this guy up, but I'm just going to laser through his arm there. And what you're going to see is wherever I pointed through there, it's now separated that arm. So we're going to do the same with this arm. And that's now separate. I'm going to make sure there's nothing through where you're looking. So I'm going to do the leg. I might have missed it then. Yeah, thought I did. So I didn't. I had my gun too far forward on my laser. So I'm cutting it around, so I've got a little bit of a circle to play with. You'll see what all this leads to in a moment. I'm going to cut the tail off, and that's all we'll do for now. Now, why have I done that? Oh, actually, sorry, didn't cut the head off. So let's cut his head off. Okay, so this is a runner, isn't it? So we want to see him running. So rather than doing everything symmetrically, why don't we now pose him? So with him being chopped up like that now, we can take his body and just move his body forward like that. Take his head, and if he's running, maybe twisting his head on the side. These are all separate layers, watch. So if you see here, these are all my layers. I can turn them on and off. This is the scene graph. And this is how we manipulate it at a per object level. So these are all separate models now. So we can really have some fun with the look and feel because we're doing a dynamic pose now. So let's bring this leg out like this. We could chop that leg up further, which we will, in fact we will do now. So back to cut. We'll chop it off there. And that means, and you could even chop it off. We'll chop it up as much as you want. We can move this around now. Which, you know, for this leg, if he brings it forward, we might want this to be, you know, in a different position, but we'll work that out in a moment, because we'll do this leg, put this back, and if this leg's going back, oops, get rid of the cut tool because it's quite dangerous. So if this leg's forward, this arm will be back. So we'll swing this one right back. And if this leg's obviously back, then we'll swing this one forward to give us the opposing swing of the arm. So you can see that that's looking good already. So that head, maybe move that around now. He looks good there. Now this is wrong here now, so we can now go back to our cut tool and we can cut this out here. And we'll now select this, angle this back, and there we go. He's got a much better running position. If we look at him from above now, his tail, I'm going to make his tail a bit bigger. Now his tail, his spine is going to go like this, like an S shape, because he's swinging this shoulder forward. We can use the move tool now, can't we? So he's swinging this shoulder forward, so we do that. This thing you're seeing here is a turntable. We'll put it over here because we don't need it just yet. And now with his tail, his spine would come this way a little bit. And then the tail, if I put it there and then use the move tool and make it small in front of you, we can say the tail would come like this and then back here like this. So we've got this nice S going through the body as he's running. And that little bit of light over here, that really makes a difference, because even while we're just concepting this up, the fact that we've got that light going on really helps us to see what it would look like in this particular this look, you know, this lighting look. Can't find how I want this leg. I've bent that front leg forward, but I'm not feeling that this back leg is right. So let's move this one. And he's up on his toe there like that, so that's working okay for me, but it's this that isn't working. So what's wrong with this? So maybe it has to swing back. Let's go back to our cut tool. And see, I'm just not feeling it now. Now I know exactly, I've just realized exactly what's wrong with me, is this toe wouldn't be like this. This toe would be like this, swinging backwards like so. And that instantly feels better, and it might just turn in a bit like this. There we go. This arm might swing out wide. Yep. So he's got some momentum in his body there. Yep. And then maybe the head a bit. Is he running this way, or is he going to look over this way? Oops. Ah, there we go. I'm liking that. Or at least it feels a bit better, nice and low on his body like that. Maybe this arm just a little bit lower and twisted a little bit. So he's really swinging those sides as he runs. I like that idea. That's not too bad. Maybe. So I'm using this as a posing tool now as much as a sculpting tool, and I really like that idea. One thing I would do, and I'm going to show you one last little thing, which would be I can use in here, I can use the pre-made items. So I can go down to rocks and I'll hit single here, and we can make him be running across the top of some rocks. So let's just use one of these, pick a rock that they've got, make it push forward with your thumbstick and just give us a nice big rock. It doesn't matter. In fact, it does matter actually. Let's put it on a new layer, and then we'll just add it into the scene somewhere like here. And there we go. We've got a bit of environment that he's now kind of like linked to. It just gives us a little bit more. It's like he's running across the top of these rocks. So that really helps me to visualize why he's doing what he's doing. Put another one here, so it's as if he's run down this little step a little bit. And that's feeling good to me. That's feeling where I'd want it to be. So as I said, I'm just going to finish him by bringing him all together. So we've just put the rocks in here, so we're not going to weld them together, but if you turn the rocks off for a minute and just tick the ones that you want to weld together, which to be fair is everything. We could have gone in and named all of these, but we don't need to. And to bring them all together, you go to Actions and Merge. Now this might take a moment. It probably won't if we've kept it fairly low res. But that will now merge all of these parts back together, and then we can go in very, very carefully now. And this rock is no use to me now. It needs to go back to the sphere. And we can go in and with remove, back on continuous, with things like remove and things like the remove and add again, we can then fill in where we've got holes and then clean that up as we go, and then we can start a detailing pass, which we're not going to do with this video, but it's given us a great creature to start with and start learning all of these tools. So I'm just cleaning up behind myself, just cleaning up the bad laundry. Anywhere we've got a problem, just add in the muscles that have been lost. That's all looking good. That's all looking good. That's fine. That's fine. This is a real mess. So we really messed this up here. So we've got to unpick all of these muscles again. So there is some destruction that's going to need a complete rethink. What's happened there is because the muscle's gone completely away from how I made it. You've got to work out again how those muscles work. Same with the back of the head. Really, we lost a bit of that shape on the back of the head. So we'll add that back in. And the jaw. A little bit of damage under here. Not much actually. It didn't do as much damage as I thought. I would have thought it would have really messed things up there. And bring that round here. And there we go. So it only took a few minutes just to bring it back to some sort of semblance of order, really. I mean, it wasn't disordered. It was just there were little bits of damage that we'd done that we had to get sorted. And what I'll do now is I'll do one little thing, which is the move tool. We'll just use a big move tool and we'll just make sure that the body is flowing correctly. We want to go, there's weight coming down at the front here and there's momentum, so he's pushing. He's probably actually tipped a little bit more forward like that, so you're always looking for, does the body work, in the real world? Is it physically going to be able to do what you're trying to say it would do? If I'm saying he's swinging like that, then make sure everything responds to that the same way. There we go. Now, let's just move that light. Bring that head up there slightly. And we've got this light up here. And this blue light. And the blue light is the one that has the shadow on it, because you can only have one shadow at a time on a light. So what we'll do is we'll bring the shadow here. It might need to just adjust those world settings again. There might be that we bring that brightness down and the sun brightness down, and that'll make the shadows pop a bit more. You can see there. Gives us a little bit more of a dynamic look. But that's how I would rough out and block out a character in Oculus Medium. As I say, I'm going to do a little bit more detailing just for a minute or two of time lapse at the end of this video, but that's a great way to start. Now, what I probably will do is I'll do another video of this one, and I'll show how I work this up into a full sculpt to take into another program like ZBrush. But if this is your first go, this is a good little introduction of how I use the basic tools in Oculus Medium. If you're enjoying this kind of content, then give the video a thumbs up for us. It does help us get it in front of other artists who might be interested in what we're doing here. Please subscribe to the channel. We're building nicely at the moment, and we're gaining lots of new followers and new people who want to learn how to do this. And remember why we're doing it, which is to help you create in new and innovative ways. So we really want you to try all of these new programs and newer ways of designing and creating all these fun things. So subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and we can let you know when we're uploading videos, which is obviously a Wednesday and a Friday at the moment.